The city, our city, its heartbeat, its flavor, and its conscience are all molded by its iconic figures. We build landmarks in their honor because they innovate, they excite, and they capture our imaginations. We know them so well, as if we've watched their lives play out on film, a film we know by heart, of which we can repeat every line. We'll watch it over and over and never tire of it, because it reminds us of the pure joy is delivered to us through the years. You could say it's our human highlight film.
This is Driven, the human highlight film. Presented by your local Toyota dealers.
I didn't really play a lot of basketball. As most young kids, it was a playground legend that lived in my neighborhood in Baltimore that said, I'm gonna teach you how to play the game, and I'm gonna teach you right. I want you to meet me at the boys club every morning, and we're gonna play basketball. And that's how it really all started for me, playground basketball. I didn't play organized basketball until 10th grade.
We played on concrete. You know, we didn't get the chance to play on hardwood floors. You know, and I think that played a huge role in our ability to get off jump off the floor, because we planned with that. It didn't give. Concrete don't give.
At a very young age, I wanted to do something to get out of the projects. Wanted to get out of poverty, and you know, having 7 other brothers and sisters, and my mom basically raised all 8 of us by herself, I had to mature as a young man at a very early age. Growing up on the streets of Baltimore gave me the ability and confidence to make my own decisions and leave to try to find my own career. So I told my mom when I was 16 I was leaving, and she said, where are you going? I said, I'm gonna go to North Carolina.
It was a town that you can get stuck in. There was no way out. And here Dominique comes to North Carolina from Baltimore. So there was rival amongst the kids in the neighborhood that say, hey, who is this guy? How are you gonna come here and be the guy?
The first time I laid eyes on Dominique Wilkins, he was a junior in high school. The tournament was in Durham, North Carolina, and the team that I broadcast for, Salisbury High School, happened to come in second that night. It was men against boys.
They never seen players like that with that type of electricity that played the game at a very fast pace and above the rim. So it changed the landscape very quickly, and we won back-to-back titles. You talk about being accepted. They accepted me in every way possible.
When time came for Dominique to pick a college, everyone assumed he would stay in North Carolina and join another pack, the Wolf Pack of NC State.
At that time, NC State was on equal par with Duke and North Carolina. I mean, they were winning national championships just like the other 2 schools. And they had had a great in-state star in David Thompson.
They were selling him that you can be another David Thompson, and what, you know, one of the pitches we were trying to make is you can be the Dominique Wilkins at the University of Georgia.
I wanted to make my own name. I wanted to go to a school that didn't have a superstar before or iconic player. Georgia stayed at my games, every one of them. They were at every single game.
As the year progressed, we continued to work, and fortunately, he decided to be a dog.
No one could believe it. No one could believe it. Georgia? The Bulldogs? They have no basketball history. That's when the attitude toward Dominique in Washington changed.
When you don't want someone to succeed, you try to destroy him in every fashion that you can. And that's what that town did to me. Well, I got a lot of death threats, poured paint on my mother's car, bust the windows out to the house. You know, I got in a lot of fights, family got in fights, even with some family members who just didn't accept that decision.
It forced his family to leave and relocate, first to Atlanta and then obviously to Athens. And up until his high school number was officially retired, there was a lot of mistrust and ill will.
I'm glad I went back. I really am, because they treated me really, really well. It took 30 years for that to happen. We all have done things that we want to be forgiven for. So I had to forgive that town, because that town's a part of my life. I can actually go back and feel good and feel welcome and feel loved there. And quite frankly, I'm the only retired Jersey at that high school.
Driven, the human highlight film, is presented by your local Toyota dealers. The new 2015 Toyota Tundra. It's rugged, refined, and unrivaled.
As soon as I hit the campus and I took a visit and I took a tour through the whole campus, I felt at home because the way I was accepted. I've never been accepted like that before.
One of the first things we noticed about him was his explosiveness. Not only the fact that he could jump, but he just had a natural explosion in all of his movements. He was so quick and yet was still in his element.
I was very energetic. You know, I played the game with reckless abandon. I was one of those guys that was gonna come at you 100 miles an hour. And that's the way I played. And they found that out very quickly, what type of game and what I was about. In
practice, a ball would go up, Dominic would slam it down. And other guys would, might do that on occasion through the years that I've had a chance to coach. But nobody did it with the consistency of Dominic. I mean, it was a natural thing. Ball's up there, boom, he pops up there and drives it home.
Here's Wilkins, watch the stuff. Boom! Oh, he takes it all now.
And then every dunk he dunk, you're gonna hear that sound. You know, Dominic has that dunk where you just hear doo. You know, all his dunks are powerful.
That was Dominique Wilkins. Unbelievable.
So even if you're not watching him, when you hear it, you look back to see what just happened, and you already know it's him putting back the ball, dunking.
Georgia basketball, it hadn't exactly been off the map, but this was something that it really put it in the forefront of students to think about. Well, Georgia basketball, Coliseum's a cool place to be.
The fans was unbelievable at the University of Georgia. I mean, because it was known as a football school, but they quickly accepted basketball, very quickly.
When teams came in, you always have that crowd because you always got the human highlight film on the court. You know, it comes with every program. When you started winning, more and more people started coming.
Once they came, there was something there for them to see. They said, I'm gonna come back for this.
While the highlight plays brought the crowds to Stegeman Coliseum, it was Nique's legendary work ethic that made teammates and coaches take notice.
It was incredible as a freshman and a sophomore and even as a junior, playing basketball with Dominique, knowing that each year he was getting better.
Dominic knew he was a good player, but he wasn't satisfied with just being a good player. He wanted to get better. He didn't average 23 a game at Georgia by just dunking the ball.
And he was getting better, not just to improve his game to go to the pros, but he wanted us to go to another level in the program.
Will you be back next year?
Well, yeah, I think I will. Yeah, I'll be back next year.
You're going to play college ball next year?
Yeah, I'm going to play next year.
For sure?
Yeah, for sure.
There was talks of me coming out after my freshman year, but mentally I wasn't ready for the NBA. I was having fun in college, man. I didn't think about making a jump at that time. I almost came out after my sophomore year. But again, I wanted to play one more year with these guys.
Greensboro was the crossroads of basketball in the state of North Carolina, and here comes Georgia.
It gave us the opportunity to know what we needed to work on, you know, but we also knew we could beat them.
For Dominique, it was a big game because he and Worthy had been high school rivals.
That was our first time playing against one another. And I remember coming into the game, I said, I got to make a statement early in this game.
Up there, Dominic. Up. Look at where he is.
The game was an unbelievable game, back and forth the whole game.
Where? Whoa! James Worthy. Look out.
North Carolina pulled away. Obviously, it's a great team, and they were able to win the game.
I think that game was probably the game that everybody stood up and said, wow, this guy is something special.
It was a real exciting game, and I just wanted to get here and do the best I can, hope the team do the best they can. I think we did okay. We had a lot of mistakes, but we're going to capitalize on the next game, I hope.
It made us believe that we could play on the same level. Because we knew we was going to be good coming back, and I really wanted to come back to the University of Georgia. But Hugh said, look, there's nothing more you can do here. You have to go.
We tried to get him to stay, but we knew it was a lost cause. I mean, it was time. It was time for him to take his talent, to show his talent, and allow us to grow without him.
When it's time to go, it's time to go. And if you care about the player, then you support that.
It was a decision. If I had to make it again, I would make the same one.
What he did at Georgia, the first time anybody does anything, he's going to be remembered. And that was really the first time that Georgia made any kind of mark in college basketball on a national stage. And it was all because of Nique and the talent that Hugh had put around him, too.
When you get a guy like Dominique and he comes in and he's able to have success and they're able to draw big crowds at their homes and they see they're getting media exposure, other players say, I want to be a part of that.
I look at what we built, and to see them guys go to the Final Four the very next season, it shows you the progression of that team and our mentality. The only thing I regret is I wasn't there at the Final Four with them, because I felt like I was there, we could have won the whole thing.
He's one of those guys we still like to claim as our own. And if you stick a big G on his jacket, you're proud to see him walk around and wear it. He's just a good human being. And so I think we still take pride in the fact that Dominique Wilkins, number 21, used to play here for the University of Georgia.
All right, the commissioner with the third pick. Dominique Wilkins, University of Georgia.
Has great potential. They're talking about him like a future Dr. J.
They said, when I got drafted, said, you're going to play power forward and Adrian Dantley going to play small forward. I said, well, y'all might have trained me today. I'm not playing power forward. Are you crazy? I said, I'm 205, 210. I'm not playing power forward.
Nique got his wish, and the cash-strapped Jazz dealt him to Atlanta for 2 players and $1 million.
That was like a dream come true. I died and went to heaven. And I started dancing in the hallway when I heard that. So I was very fortunate to stay right here.
We don't have to move. I didn't want to. So now we're a mainstay.
I think basically it's getting used to the game, first of all, and just working hard on individual stats like defense and boxing and rebounding. I think all the rest of the part of your game will fall in place.
It was at a time where the Hawks were just sort of out there in the wilderness. They weren't really accepted as a franchise that was serious about winning a title. But when they got Dominique, things started to change.
6'7" from Georgia, number 21, Dominique Wilkins.
He got into the NBA right away, and I think he knew, I could play with these guys. I don't think it took him very long at all to realize that.
He just athletically could do some things other guys couldn't do. So I think in a lot of ways, he left you in awe of his athleticism at times on the court.
That athleticism led many to compare Nique to one of the game's greats, Dr. J.
The ability to generate excitement, that's probably the main thing that makes people want to compare us.
When I first came to the league, one of the first guys I said something to is, Doc, I grew up being I emulated everything you've done. I'm just thrilled to be here. And he said, look, there's only one Dr. J, there's only one Dominique Wilkins, but since people start calling you next Dr. J, you might as well start learning. And I remember Dr. J had a great game, and I wasn't upset, because that's the doctor,
I was fired up. I was ready to go. I respect a guy like Julius because he's a good guy off the court as well as on. I think I learned a little bit from him tonight, and it really made me feel good to get out there and play good against him.
The doctor wasn't the only one who got a preview of the human highlight film. The rest of the NBA soon got its own sneak peek.
Looks like the Hawks want to run. They find Wilkins. Look out. And the foul will be on Larry Bird.
Despite the blossoming of Nique's individual game, The Hawks struggled in his first couple of seasons. Things finally began to click under the leadership of their brash young coach, Mike Fratello.
They used to call him Little Hubie because Fratello was the assistant with Hubie before he took over the Hawks. And he brought with him the toughness and defense of the Hubie Brown school. But what Fratello added that Hubie didn't have is Fratello had a little bit more creativity and would allow more creativity, thus a perfect place for Dominique to operate.
Mike found ways to get me the ball. He found ways to put me in situations to be successful.
When I first came in as the head coach, Dominique had a questionable jump shot at that time. We began talking about his shot. He didn't have to jump as high. He still was going to get it over the top of people, be more balanced, square his body up more.
He really helped my game grow. I knew that all he was trying to do was push me and push the team.
A breakaway for Dominique. Hello.
The vision was to get younger, to become athletic, to be able to run up and down the floor, to create excitement, and try to bring people back to the Omni. And the one guy that could do that was Dominique Wilkins.
Dominique was a couple years older than I was. Doc and I came in together. Kevin Willis was the year after that. Tree was there with Dominique. So it was within a couple years of each other that we kind of all came in together. And so the first year was a little bit of a struggle, but then we just built momentum.
This is Atlanta's game. Spud. Dominique.
It was a tough ticket. It was also a social place to be. It was the first time in Atlanta that people went to the games to see the Hawks. What had happened previously is you'd go to the game, but you wanted to see the Knicks. You wanted to see the Lakers. You wanted to see the Celtics. And if the Hawks beat them, fine. But then the Hawks became the talk and the story. And Dominique was the centerpiece, no question about it.
When we played in that era, the fast break was prevalent. You had to keep the highlight films low on him or it was just going to keep coming.
Into the lane, puts it up off the glass.
I never saw a dunker with more creativity and artistic ability who was a power dunker combination than Dominique Wilkins. There's never been one like that.
There were very few players that could dunk like Neek from a standing stop, you know. He'll just get you on a low block, back you down, and then turn, jump, and just jam it. Very few guys could do that.
Dominique's power and agility above the rim made him a natural for the premier event at All-Star Weekend, the Slam Dunk Contest.
Slam Dunk Contest was everything. And it started, for me, watching David Thompson and Dr. J, them guys competing for the Slam Dunk Contest. It was a special thing.
Oh, it was like shootout at the OK Corral. It was where the top gunslingers came and the best players in the league performed in it.
It was the event for the All-Star Weekend. Everybody showed up there. It had to be seen.
We wanted to know who the best was. That's why we did it. That's why all the greats got in it. Because it wasn't just for us, it was for the fans. That's what they came to see.
Neek captured his first dunk title in 1985, besting a precocious kid from Chicago. It set up a legendary rematch 3 years later.
Dr. J put it on the map, but it was Jordan and Dominique, those two guys, that took it to another level.
At dunk contest, which was in Chicago, that it became a duel.
They were not liking each other. They both wanted to win very badly.
Mine was all spontaneous. It was dunks that I was doing in games.
From high above the rim.
I just thought of some of them dunks as the contest went on. I didn't work on that, and neither did Michael. We just did stuff that we do every night.
The dude is amazing in terms of his creativity, and all I tried to do was, be as amazing.
My second dunk in the finals wasn't my best dunk. It was a great dunk, but it wasn't my best one, and I got a 50 on it. I saved my best for last, and I got a 47. I looked up, I'm like, okay, I see what's going on here. I'm in Chicago.
Anybody who knows Chicago knows well that voting in Chicago is always iffy.
You know, I probably would have given it to him, but being that it was on my home turf, it wasn't meant to be.
They gave him a 50. They gave Jordan a 50.
I believe to this day that Dominique out-dunked Michael Jordan that year.
No matter who won, the fans got their money's worth.
I don't think you would ever see that type of competition ever again.
Neek took home another trophy in 1990, but it was the '88 battle with MJ that people still talk about today.
Driven, the human highlight film, is presented by your local Toyota dealers. The new 2015 Toyota Tundra. It's rugged, refined, and unrivaled.
Spud driving an alley-oop for Dominique. He catches and jams.
The talent level started to increase, and they put together as good a team as there was in the East. It was their misfortune that they came along at a time where everybody else in the East was really great.
You knew every night, you know, it was going to be a battle, and it seemed like every team had a great player on it, capable of lighting you up if you weren't ready.
Well, it wasn't just stars. These were Hall of Famers that you were going up against every night.
Top of the circle, Wilkins spins on Jordan in the lane.
I don't think people really understand how talented, how brutal the East was. The league, period, but the East was that bump and grind, and your body had to be conditioned to take the punishment every night. Everybody had great players, and there was no nights off.
You're talking about prolific scorers back then. Hardcore men drinking a beer at halftime. Because when I was first couple years in the league, you could drink a beer at halftime. It was in the cooler. So these are hardcore guys, grown men, you know, suit and tie guys coming at you every single night from East Coast all the way to the West Coast.
So I used to think, okay, you know, I had to guard these legendary guys, but I'm also gonna make them worry about me. So I didn't worry about them as much. Only one guy ever made me nervous, and that was Bernard King, you know, because he was a machine. He's gonna get 40 and nothing you can do about it. So I used to say to myself, I'm gonna get 40 also, we just gonna call it a wash. It was a mutual respect that we all had for one another, but we didn't talk to each other, because as great players, you didn't want anybody to get that close to you. And Bird is a prime example of that.
The Bird-Wilkins rivalry was never more evident than in the 1988 Eastern Conference semifinals. After being ousted from the playoffs by the Celtics in both '83 and '86, the Hawks felt this was their year to advance, and they pushed the defending East champs to a Game 7 at the Boston Garden.
Shake O'Donnell's all set, and the tip goes to Boston.
We came into Game 7 with the right mindset, believing that we would have a chance to win Game 7.
Right before that game started, I remember I said, we're gonna win this bleep game. I said, if you ain't ready to fight, if you ain't ready to go to war, don't come out here. I said, whoever guarding me tonight gonna have a long night. Unfortunately, Larry was saying that to his teammates down the other end.
Hale breaks free against the Hawks defense.
You know, it was one of those Sundays in the Boston Garden, hot, you know, crowd crazy. They expected they were going to win. I don't think they expected to have a tussle like they had in that game.
You know, Dominique was pretty much the whole game. Larry, the fourth quarter, kind of then, you know, carried their team. That's what made him so great.
I remember coming down the floor, and I remember myself, Larry Bird, and Kevin Willis. And Kevin reached across me and said, don't let this so-and-so score no more tonight. And I looked at Kevin, what you doing? I said, you know, don't wake a sleeping giant. And that fourth quarter was unbelievable.
With Bird again pulling up, putting Boston ahead. He takes the three-pointer, it's good.
When you're playing like that, I just realized that Dominique is hot, or Bird is hot, and we at that time, we're trying to stop his run and keep Dominique's run going. So we didn't realize that they were making history, man.
Spectacular is the word I would use. You know, two great players trying to will their team to a win.
Bird. A mano-mano duel, Bird versus Wilkins.
We didn't really need plays. We were just trying to get him the ball in the best position. It didn't really matter.
That's always our game plan. If he's playing like that, okay, that's the game plan. Make sure you find Dominique's number and get him the basketball.
And the duel continues.
I don't think it was so much edge they had. I just thought it was a player that they had, and that was Larry Bird.
It's Bird's turn.
Who basically put the team on his shoulders in that fourth quarter. And even though McHale scored 35, it was the way that Larry Bird scored in that fourth quarter that got them over the hump.
Bird comes free. Bird for the layup. You are watching what greatness is all about.
Despite a magical 47-point effort from Dominique, it was Bird and his 20 fourth-quarter points that helped the Celtics walk away with the series.
I realized it was something good, but I don't think we realized what historically that game was going to mean, especially in the moments afterwards.
It was hard because we were right there, and not that it wasn't a very good team. And Kevin McHale, Larry Bird, Parrish, Ainge, Dennis Johnson. We just, it was just the wrong time.
I know for Dominique, he can go back to that specific year and say that was my true one shot.
After that game, the respect that we got from the Celtics, and I think from the basketball world. I remember after that game, Larry said, hey, we both should have won this game. But unfortunately, one of us got to go home. And I think that was the biggest compliment that I got from a great player, because Larry never even spoke to me, never even shook my hand. For him to say that at the end of a game, I mean, that's respect.
Driven, the human highlight film, is presented by your local Toyota dealers.
The pain rushed up my right side of my body and it froze me. And the first thing I said, who kicked me? And I turned there was no one there. And so I remember falling to the floor, and I was saying to myself, my career is probably over.
It happened right in front of me, and nobody touched him, and he went down, and we all knew, I think, that it was the worst.
Dominique Wilkins is down just off the court over near the Hawk bench.
I almost cried on the air that night, especially when they were taking him to the hospital. We got word that he was, on the way, and he wanted to listen to the game on the way.
When they took me to the hospital, I still had my uniform on. I'm in an air cast. And I told the ambulance, I said, take me back to the game.
His leg in a cast. Dominique Wilkins gets a standing ovation to come back here to watch the finish of this ball game. Ruptured Achilles tendon.
I remember coming in on crutches and sitting on the bench, because I felt like it's something I could still do to help the team win. And to this day, I couldn't tell you why I did that.
You always have to, I guess, prepare yourself for the worst. But with me, I can't abandon the team. I can't sit around and pout. I can't sit around and just feel sorry for myself, because if I do that, I'm gonna let myself slip. And I've never been a person who's done that.
So I remember working 9 months, every day, twice a day for 9 months. I said, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna be better than ever. That work that I put in, I thought paid off in the end, because my first regular season game was against New York Knicks, and I scored 30. My first game back. That's when I knew I was back. I was like, you know what? If this thing gonna pop, it's gonna pop on my turn. I'm going all out.
He was better in a lot of ways when he came back from that, because he was so determined, because so many people had said, this is probably it for Dominique. He's at that age. You don't come back from an Achilles injury.
I learned how to play the game on the ground as well as in the air. Became even more fundamentally sound. And that's what happens when you're hit with an injury that grounds you. You learn how to think the game more, do little things that give you an edge.
Wilkins driving. It counts. He'll get his first free throw attempt after hitting his 20,000th point of his career.
Dominique was back, and so were the Hawks. Midway through the 1993-94 season, they led the Eastern Conference, and Nick was primed for a playoff run. What happened next was the shocker of all shockers.
The Hawks, with a marvelous 36-16 record, make a bold move as spring approaches. They hold a news conference tonight to announce that the team's prime offensive weapon is being sent to Bob Weiss and the Clippers of Los Angeles.
We have to look at the franchise this year, next year, and the year after, and so forth. And anytime you get an opportunity to make this kind of deal, you're kind of foolish if you don't.
I had no clue trade was coming. None. Because the night before, I remember Bird-Wilkins said, you know, Nick, you got to get this young team ready to go, put them on your back. You're the franchise here. You got to get these guys going, getting ready for the playoffs. The next morning, they called me and said they're making a trade. Can I come to a press conference? And I can't even tell you what I said, not on air. You know, I was shocked.
I'm hurt. Yeah, I am hurt. You know, I can't really say how much.
I went through a depression. I really went through a deep depression. And I was supposed to go to LA, I think like 2 days later. It took me a while to leave. It took me probably about 5 or 6 days. It was like, you know, something died. I mean, you know, I thought, I'm leaving Atlanta. And I just couldn't believe it.
But they kept telling me over the last couple of days that there was no talks, there wasn't much going on, and they knew all the time they was talking about a trade, you know. I just thought that for the longest I've been here, what I did with this franchise, they could have been more straight up with me.
I remember that trade going down for Danny Manning, for Dominique, at a time that they were rolling. They thought that Danny Manning was going to come and win the East.
They were winning. They were on top of the Eastern Conference. You trade your best player and then fade away.
No need to soft pedal. This is the greatest player in the history of the franchise. I can announce tonight that when his career is over, we will retire his number.
Nick belongs to this city. He belongs to the Hawks in a special way that no other player ever has. And when he was traded, a little piece of this city's soul was traded with it. And I think that's a part of what made it so difficult for Hawks fans.
I think the thing that I didn't want to leave is the fans here, who supported me all them years, who showed the same support when I came back.
Caston says he hopes you get 50, but the Clippers lose. How do you feel about it?
Well, I hope I get 25 and we win.
Oh, Dominique does it one more time for the fans.
As the game went on, I mean, you would have thought you were at a Clippers home game because they were just cheering for Dominique.
The Atlanta Hawks mascot, Harry the Hawk, was cheering for Dominique in a Clippers uniform. Yeah, that stands out.
The Clippers are going to take it. Dominique has come back and conquered his old team.
I was jacked. The fans was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Anytime you're traded, that first time, it's a jolt. But when you've got the history behind you that he had, it wounded him.
A lot of things we learned from afterwards. I think the Hawks learned from that.
That hurt for a long, long time, for many years. And it's just recently I'm able to let it go, you know, and move on.
After that, you know, he moved around from team to team, and I looked at Nick in that Celtic uniform and said, this is just not right.
For me, it was just buying time, really. It was buying time. I mean, even though I played the game hard every night, it wasn't fun to the level that I was used to. I said, you know what, it's time to retire. And that was very hard. Only thing I regret is that I didn't come back and finish up in a Hawks uniform. I would have loved to have done that.
Ladies and gentlemen, there it is, the number 21. Let's remember Dominique's 12-plus seasons here in Atlanta Hawks uniform.
Now, what people don't realize how hard I played the game, all the time. And the passion and the relentlessness I played with. If basketball is the only thing in the world, you know, I would be content. That's how much I love the game.
All the memories he gave us, and all the memories we'll continue to have of number 21, the greatest Atlanta Hawk of all time.
That kind of, for me, put all the other speculations to rest. But once you become a Hall of Famer, you are anointed as royalty. That's something no one could ever take from you.
The year that he was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, I met him in the parking lot. I asked him if that was his RV. No one in all of my years working here has ever showed up and brought their family up in an RV. I think it is the most outstanding, sentimental, heart of gold gesture I've ever seen. Instead of flying in on a G5 or having a limo, he's in an RV with the family. Great.
In our conversation, he said, "Why isn't a statue of you in Atlanta? They need a statue of you." He said, "You know what? I woke up, I had a vision that I did a Dominique Wilkins statue." And he said, "I promise you this, I'm gonna do it."
Hey, nice shoes, by the way.
Oh,
Way to go.
I got a lot of these in the closet. I can get you a pair if you need them.
It just started as a acquaintance, and then we kept in touch, and we've become friends over the years, and I learned how important he is to the city of Atlanta. I would say that I went to Atlanta at least 30 times in the past 7 years. And we would meet and we would discuss the composition and what this was going to look like, where it was going to go. It was interesting evolution.
He came up with a picture that was the anticipation of the dunk, not the dunk itself.
It was this approach to the slam dunk that I thought was more anticipating, more who he is.
That's the type of signature mark we want to put in front of that arena. He said, how are we going to do it? I don't know, but we're going to get it done.
How you doing?
I'm pretty good.
You look good.
They found a picture of you playing defense.
Oh, hold on now. Don't play.
In the incredible history of the NBA, Dominique Wilkins is only the 9th player to be memorialized with a statue, which will be prominently displayed outside of the arena. So on behalf of the Hawks, I want to thank Dominique for your contributions to our sport and to our community.
From now on, this stretch of Centennial Olympic Park Drive from Marietta to Martin Luther King Jr. Drive will also be known as Dominique Wilkins Lane.
This statue stands for so much more than your accomplishments on the court, than all the great human highlights and all the great dunking. It's a symbol of the fabric of the community that you have become and all that you've accomplished. So on behalf of everyone in the league, congratulations to you.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I thought actually the curtain was going to go up, so it kind of surprised me when it just, boom, it fell. You know, I was in awe. I mean, you're talking about capturing every aspect of me was captured in that statue.
I think you look for a special type of individual when you're talking about the face of the franchise. And whether that special individual is associated because of winning, and it's the greatest times in the history of the franchise. That's one thing. Or it may be that it's just a very special person that lives in the community. He reaches out in the community. He gives of himself to the community. Could be the number of years, the longevity that he's with it. And then there's always a chance that maybe you take a little bit of each one of those areas that I just talked about and put it together, and that creates a special person.
You know, I've had a guy who's in Atlanta here who's tattooed my name on his back. I mean, who would do that if you didn't really love a person? Who would do that? It's a little strange, but you know, fans go to the extreme when they really love someone, and that's no different, believe me.
Hey, let me tell you this, you don't get a statue just because you can dunk.
I think as time go on, you know, he will start to realize what it really means. You know, people die before they get statues.
To imagine people walking by that every day, you know, taking pictures, you know, recognize, oh, I remember that guy. I supported him many years. My family support. I mean, you know, all those things go through your mind.
Maybe there'll be another one that'll come along, you know, between now and the end of time after we're all long gone. But as of right now, Dominique's the greatest Atlanta Hawk of all time. He's the most popular Hawk of all time. And I think people should remember, as time goes on, what a great player he was, what a great teammate he was.
Oh, there it is.
Wow.
Walk up to it.
I got to touch it, Liz, right? Got to feel it, make sure it's real.
I mean, kids who watch sports, when they go out there and they walk past that stadium and they see that statue, and if they don't know who he is, they're gonna research it. The technology now, the days now, you know, their smartphone can pull up who he is and see some of the highlights that he has, and they're gonna be like, whoa, this guy who's doing that.
Oh my goodness.
I wanted to go out there and take pictures with as many people as I could, because they deserve it. Thank you guys, man. Appreciate it. 21. Thank you, absolutely. I had to earn the respect and the right to be in this position, and they helped me get here. And I'll tell you the truth, I would have stood out there all night. How you doing? And to the last person. But it's my duty to be there for them the way they were there for me. And at the end of the day, I can feel happy and satisfied for what I've accomplished.
What the city did was great. You know, the statue's wonderful, and renaming the street, and it's Dominique Wilkins Day, and all that's fantastic. But that moment that Nique had at halftime of that Cleveland game, to take the spotlight and go to center court and speak from his heart to the fans, that's what made it complete.
For 3 decades, you, the fans, have supported me, has made me the man that I am today. Basketball was a small part of that. This day has been so special because it's been a long wait. But I can tell you, it's worth the wait. I love you guys. Because you guys have stood on the wall, you've made the human highlight film your favorite son. I can't tell you in words how much I love this city, love these fans, and I'm never leaving this city. Let's go ATL. Thank you.
Dominique Wilkins.
To see the historical figures here in the city where they shrine as history in the city, and to be a part of that history is mind-blowing.
So now, a new landmark dots our skyline, sculpted from toughness, humility, and the ability to send our imagination soaring. It stands to tell future generations the story of a true icon.
Even though I'm not from Atlanta, I'm from here. This is my home.